Hey everybody, this is herculespetix, founder, curator, docent, and gift shop employee of the herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies. Today we're going to be looking at Killer Fly, a 3-issue miniseries published by Slave Labor Graphics in 1995. This is interesting because I totally forgot I owned this comic. If you asked me, hey, have you ever seen this comic Killer Fly? I probably would have said, no, I don't know what you're talking about. But apparently I bought it. I'm pretty sure I bought this roughly back then from like a quarter bin, I'm sure. And I liked it, totally forgot about it. And I reread it last night and really liked it. I was like, this is great. It's by 2 British creators who I've never heard of. I don't know what hopefully they went on to do some good stuff. But I'm surprised if they didn't, because this is some really good stuff. Really great story, all told in these 3 issues. So let's check it out. The artist is named Chris Hogg with 2 G's, and as you can see by the cover, I think he likes Gilbert Hernandez a lot. The way he draws this woman reminds me of Palomar stories, but I kind of like it. It's he also draws differently too. He has other characters that are almost in a totally different style, like very more expressive, more cartoony. So it's not like he's a slavish imitator of Gilbert Hernandez by any means. I do like this logo too. Very interesting logo. We have a little introduction by some guy named Sam Peck, who I think is another English creator. Now, these are written by Chris Butler. You know, once again, I have no idea what he's done. I think these guys came from the small press in England, put out fanzines and stuff. So let's get on with the main story. And we're introduced to Maria, the same woman from the cover. She's the assistant to a knife thrower named Marvin. His stage name is Baron Blade. Now, once again, we see the art style from the cover that I think is a little Hernandez-like. But look at these guys. Look how very exaggerated, almost cartoony. I really like when he does this cartoony style, but I don't mind. I like this too. So here's Marvin. And Marvin is her partner. I don't know if they're married or just boyfriend, girlfriend, but he's a drunk. And she's always like, hey, maybe before the act, you shouldn't drink so much. My life's on the line here. And he's just like, I throw better when I'm drunk. So we instantly realize that he's not a very good guy. He's kind of a piece of shit. Now we see back at the big top, we see the Human Cannonball Act, which is this little guy named Putt. He's a dwarf. And he gets shot off into the sky. The ringmaster even says, where he will drop, nobody knows. It's like he doesn't even care. He's like, he'll come down somewhere. And then always after his act is Baron Blade's act with Maria. So I like this cutaway here. It's very, at first you're like, what the hell's going on? And we're like way outside the big top. And we see a tree and we hear like, shh, 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 and Putt falls out of the tree. That's where he landed. And all of a sudden, though, he hears a scream from the big top. It's Maria. And he just goes, the Maria? And he runs towards the road. And look how different the art is here. This reminds me of like some weird underground cartoonist. Some like primitive style, weird stuff. But I like it. And I love this how he runs. He's heading for the big top. And the ambulance hits him. That's going to get Maria. He gets run over by the ambulance. And then we see a little panel of Marvin after Maria's been taken away. And he's just drinking. Looks pretty nonchalant. Like, his wife's in the hospital because of him. It doesn't seem like he gives a shit. And then we see him have a flashback when he was it looks like he's a teenager. And he's practicing his knife throwing. This old man, he says, who taught you to do that? And he proudly says, nobody. And the old man says, then you will never learn any better. Now we're back to the present. Or maybe it's that night or the next day, Putt visits Maria in the hospital. And he has a big bouquet of flowers. We quickly realize that he's not too shy. Basically, he's in love with Maria or has a huge crush on her. He even just says, like, you're beautiful. You're so beautiful. Like I think he's a little spare in the head, this guy. He's not that bright. He's maybe one gulpful of oxygen away at birth from being mentally handicapped. And she's happy that he came to visit, but then he starts telling her He's like, you have to get away from Marvin. He's going to kill you one of these days. He's never going to quit drinking. Risks your life every night. And she's like, you don't understand. And she even gets a little angry with him. She's like, if you don't drop this, maybe you should just leave. I love this, how he's got a tire tread on his face from the ambulance. It's like really dark. So now Putt goes right to the ringmaster, the big boss. And he basically says, you have to make Maria stop being his assistant because she's going to die one day. And the ringmaster lays it out for him. He says, you don't understand, Putt. In this modern world of video games and horror DVDs, the circus is dying. We have to offer even more thrills than ever. Things that they can't get on TV. So if every now and then Maria maybe gets a little slice in her arm or something, the audience loves that. They can't get that on a TV show. Life or death, right in front of your face, life and death thrills. So, leave it. And he says, by the way, your human cannibal act isn't really drawing crowds anymore. So from now on, you're going to be on elephant duty, which basically means shoveling elephant shit every day. So we see him, he's shoveling shit. And then out of nowhere, a knife pins his arms to this fence. Of course, it's Marvin. And he says, I hear you've been spreading lots of muck. Been sniffing around my wife's fanny again. And he basically just starts insulting him. It's like, you little pervert. He even throws a knife right in his crotch. Pins his pants. And he puts a blindfold on him. And it's almost like this psychological torture where he's telling him, you know why Maria starts sweating? Because she's excited. She loves the thrill. She loves being my assistant and having knives thrown at her. It turns her on. And of course, Putt is just in misery. This whole comic is it just gets worse and worse for Putt. It's like, this comic should be subtitled, Putt Gets Shit On by Fate every day. It's kind of sad. So there's a new attraction at the circus called the Killer Fly. I love this old attraction, though. It's Henry, the Shih Tzu juggling fat man. So not only does he juggle Shih Tzu dogs, but he's also a fat man. So it's like a double attraction. Just a great panel. I love that. And see what I was talking about? Look how cartoony that is. His body, no human has a body like that. There's half a foot or a foot between his two legs, his crotch, And we meet the Killer Fly. Now, it just looks like a kind of a wimpy little kid or teenager. And the ringmaster, in his spiel, really plays up the drama. He's like, why do you think we have this poor, sweet boy in chains? Why would we do this? Because we'll show you. And so then the wild man of Borneo of the circus, that kind of act. He's just like some caveman. He's chasing this woman, Pythina, a circus performer. And I guess Killer Fly, whenever he sees any injustice or inhumanity, man being inhumane to their fellow man, it fills him with it makes a transformation in him. So they do this little act, and it turns him into the Killer Fly, which is quite bestial. It looks like he's almost breaking the bars of this cell. So he's a pretty scary monster. In fact, he's so scary. I like these panels too. The whole crowd starts running towards the exits, stampeding. So the ringmaster says, they'll be back and they'll tell all their friends. We got a hit on our hands. Now we're back to the flashback. Marvin, young Marvin, he's joined the circus to learn knife throwing from the great Rodrigo. But apparently, all he does is shovel shit all day. And we see one of the circus performers, the escape artist, it's young Maria, and she's laughing at him. Really nice art here. This is some good stuff. And I like this as he's walking through the circus, everyone's just laughing at him. He's the butt of everyone's joke. Now we're back to the present. Putt is talking to Killer Fly, saying, you should escape. This is just so wrong how they're treating you. And then we see 1 year later, we jump ahead, and the ringmaster is announcing the Killer Fly, and the seats are empty, almost empty. Apparently, The circus audience has gotten jaded and tired of the killer fly, which doesn't really make sense. That's a fucking phenomenal. It's beyond an act. It's actually like, I'm pretty sure their crowds would increase every day. Scientists would be coming to be like, how does this happen? But apparently, in this world, in England, people are like, guy who can turn into a giant killer fly, fuck it. So now we see Marvin's hanging out with Maria. They see Putt shoveling shit. He starts teasing him, being a dick to Putt. Basically tells Maria what a pervert he is. And then they go in their trailer and have sex, and Putt has to hear the whole thing. Once again, poor Putt. Now this is the part of the flashback. It's kind of weird. So, the ringmaster is this guy. He seems like a weird doll. I don't understand. It's like, this is almost like a very surreal scene. Look at even the way he draws the furniture in the background. Like a cabinet of Dr. Caligari or something. Everything's twisted and weird. You know, it's all fucked up. So it almost is like this is some weird dream sequence, even though I don't think it is. So he's talking to the ringmaster saying, this is bullshit. Rodrigo hasn't taught me how to throw knives at all. All I do is shit work. And then all of a sudden he hears this voice. And it says, he can't understand you. He doesn't speak English, but I do. Rodrigo is a bitter old man who knows he's useless. And Marvin says, step into the light. I can't see you. And he says, as you wish. And then I believe this is the face of the ringmaster, even though all of a sudden he doesn't have a hat on. I'm a little confused by the scene. And we see Marvin running in fear from the trailer. So take that for what you will. I'm not sure about that scene. So now we see Putt is in the outside world, the non-circus world. He's talking to an old friend who used to be a circus dwarf like himself. He's kind of escaped that world and is settled comfortably into the, non-circus life. He's got a job. He's got an apartment. He seems very happy. And he really likes Putt. So he's like, Putt, you got to get out of that whole circus thing. It sounds like you're in a terrible situation. You can stay on my sofa. I'll help you get a job. Come on, get out of there. But it's hard for Putt because he's in love with Maria. He wants to be near her. So now there's a new act. They cooked up because just like the ringmaster says, we need the smell of blood in the air. We got to keep up in the ante. And so now the knife throwing act, Maria is pinned to this dastardly dartboard of death, a spinning wheel, which just seems impossible. No matter how skillful you are, how could you not hurt someone on this? And of course, it doesn't stop Marvin from having a drink beforehand. And Putt freaks out. Putt didn't know about this, so Putt's all like in front of the whole crowd. He runs out and says, "Stop! This is insane. It's obscene. She'll be killed." And two circus guys grab him. These weird, almost faceless guys. They almost look like Lego people. Or not Lego people, those Fisher-Price people. They lock him in a trunk. And after the show, I guess it went off well because Maria is not eviscerated, but she is puking from the spinning. The ringmaster comes to talk to Putt, still trapped in this trunk. And he says, "Hey, man, that went over like gangbusters. You really sold it, the danger of it, by running out like that." Of course, he did not mean that. He really was terrified. And then Maria comes to talk to him. And she releases him. And basically, she's keeps trying to tell Putt, she's like, "I never signed up for you to be my guardian angel, Putt. You got to stop these outbursts. And I'm where I want to be." So she gets a little angry with him and says, "Fine, I'm going back to the caravan if you're going to be like this." And he clunks her on the head with a rolling pin and locks her in the trunk. And then frees the killer fly, and they all get in a van and escape. To be continued. Pizza Parlor Patter. So we have two stories at the end here. I didn't see any credits, but I assume it's the same writer and artist. And these are just like little slice of life type things. These three friends. One is named Chris, so I don't know if it's autobiographical. And just like, they're kind of funny. They're kind of almost like a tiny little one-act play or a quarter-act play of just these friends chatting, kind of clever, kind of funny, and, just small talk. They're at this pizza place. And then we have another one with the same characters, breakfast table banter. Totally different style. Well, not really. You can kind of tell it's Chris Hogg, but it's different. And I kind of like it. I wouldn't mind reading more of these stories. Because like I said, they're pretty well written. There's some good gags in here, some good dialogue. Very witty. But I don't like it nearly as much as the Killer Fly story. Another nice, very quiet cover, but effective. Pretty subdued. This time we have an introduction from the writer, Chris Butler. And chapter 2. So we're in some like weird techno club. Music's very loud. We see these three friends. This brunette guy, this one guy. I'll see if... I'll get his name soon enough. And he seems very fascinated by the new waitress there. It's Maria. So this is obviously months have passed. So Maria has gotten a job outside the circus. And I guess at this club, they make her wear like these tight leather pants and this weird welder's visor and a bustier, like, kind of industrial techno fashion. And this brunette guy seems really just like obsessed with her. But he's like couching it in this frames of like, oh my God, how could she dress like that? Like, or he's not mad at her. He's mad at the establishment. He's like, oh, she must feel like a piece of meat in that. I can't believe they make her dress like that. It's terrible. So then we see the dance floor, and this dude is making his way through it. And when he passes Maria, he grabs her ass. Maria looks like she barely cares, but he is just like, oh my God, I don't know what came over me. Like we can't hear what he's saying because the word balloons are empty, denoting that this is a very loud club. So even if you're talking, you can't hear what the person's saying. The bouncer, I guess, saw the whole thing and walks over and clobbers that guy and knocks him down to the floor. Now we go back to the flashback scenes of Marvin. And it looks like Marvin's, it's a little time has passed. He's gotten pretty good at the knife throwing. And Rodrigo, is his teacher. And he's actually like come to admire little Marvin and say, yeah, I think you could be one of the greats. You got that drive. I'm sorry, this isn't Rodrigo. This is a guy named Hafit. And so now I'm confused who Rodrigo is because I thought he was the great knife thrower. But is it Hafate? Hafit. And then we see this weird little, I don't know, it looks like a character from another comic stumbled in. Some, weird mutant puppet clown. We see him walk back through the circus. I like this, how it's almost the same panel as earlier. He's a little older. Nobody's laughing now, though. So we see that, just with a simple visual trick, we realize, oh, okay, he's not the little loser he once was now. And here's Maria. This is like so they're both young kids. It looks like they are attracted to each other. The whole time, whenever he's training with Hafit, Marvin, this little weird clown guy's watching him. So now we're back to the modern story. So we find out that Maria didn't force, but just said, you better drive me back to the circus. You're lucky I don't call the cops on you for clonking me on the head and kidnapping me. So he does. And the circus has moved on. So that's why now Maria is not in the circus with Marvin, and she's working that shitty job. So now we cut away to Putt's friend's apartment. He's basically taken in Killer Fly and Putt. He seems like a very nice guy. And he basically says, Killer Fly is incredibly dangerous. I mean, I like the guy, but at any moment he could see some moral injustice and turn into a horrible Killer Fly, and who knows what he could do, eat us? So he's like, I'm going to cure him. And I guess one of his acts back at the circus was as the enchanter, like a hypnotist. Look at this outfit. It looks like a really bad 70s Marvel villain, super villain. So now we cut back to the techno bar, the club. And so I guess this guy scraped himself off the floor. He's got like a bloody nose. And he's talking to Maria, who's now behind the bar. And this guy's such an annoying kind of dumbass. He's basically just apologizing, but he's also like asking her stupid questions like he's a feminist. Like, I don't understand why you let them objectify you like that. And she's just totally just like, I separate my body from my brain. It doesn't really bother me at all. It really doesn't bother me. The money's good. And so all of this, though, is really because he has a crush on her. So after all this, like, stupid, whatever, questions and stuff, he just says, could I call you? We cut back to the therapy session, and it looks like Putt's friend is doing some crazy hypnotism on Killer Fly. It's pretty neat here. His face turning into the little hypno wheel. Now, I guess Maria agreed to go on a date with this loser. So they're walking in the park. Wait, did I skip something? Okay. And, you know, she's telling him about her days in the circus. He's still kind of saying, like, I don't understand why you work there. Blah, blah, blah. And you could tell he's just a young dumbass, you know. Some probably art student, you know. Now we cut back to the flashbacks. So that weird clown guy, he kind of talks cryptically. He tells Marvin, he says, you must go back before it's too late. Her fate is evil. He says, yes, I'm a freak, but he did it to me, and he will do the same to you. And Marvin laughs it off and says, get the fuck away from me, weirdo. So now we see young Maria and Marvin. And they're, you know, becoming a little couple, cute little couple. I like the scene where they're running from a bowl. So they run into the lake. And Marvin says, oh, they can't swim. And it turns out the bowl kid totally swims after them. And he's like, oh, they can swim. We also see them in their trailer. They're obviously a full item now. This is very odd. There's this like monkey girl named Babuna. And she's like, likes to peek at them when they have sex. So I'm pretty sure this is a dream sequence, but I'm not quite sure. In this comic, you can never tell. But this is an interesting page. So we see all these other kind of freaks basically warning him against her fate, saying the same thing the clown said, like, he'll make you like one of us. You know, stay away from him. Keep away from Maria, too. And it almost looks like another cartoonist jumped in to draw these. It looks like it's like a totally different style. And it's weird, even though they're goofier than anything she draws, but I almost see like Carol Swain in here. If Carol Swain, like, I don't know, maybe took some LSD or something and did some laughing gas. Back to the therapy section. I do like this, his little face in the hypno wheel. And we continue to see him trying to cure Killer Fly. So Maria's still on the date with this douchebag. And then we cut away to Putt. So Putt, his friend got him a job as a janitor. We see this tough walk into the men's room where Putt is working. And he's like, you've been bothering my girlfriend in the girls' room and all of her friends. And I'm not a violent man. I'm not going to hurt you. I'm just going to give you a warning. But then he says, oh, but let me help you clean up. And he grabs him and uses his, you know, his crazy hair as a mop on the floor and then shoves it down the toilet and cleans the toilet with his head. So nasty. So he's just this big bully guy. But then again, well, we'll see. I shouldn't spoil it. So now the douchebag takes Maria. I'm sorry I don't know his name. I can't find it anywhere. So they go to see Blue Velvet, the David Lynch movie. And he takes her to the pub. So that's pretty nice. And I'm pretty sure this is the kind of guy, like, 3-4 years later, if he kept going, he's probably really good. I bet I wouldn't be surprised if he's a damn good artist. I mean, even in 2000. So she's got to leave for work, so the date's over. Now we cut back to the flashback scene. And this scene is so odd. So see, I guess Babuna is a little girl who wears a monkey mask, but I'm not sure. Maybe she has an actual monkey face. Because look at her legs and arms. She's like a human girl, but she's got that mask. And this scene is so weird, where Maria, I guess, kind of invites her to join their threesome. And we see the baboon is riding his back while he's having sex with Maria. And he looks over and he sees Hafate. And Hafate just says, "Don't mind me, old chap. You carry on." So there's some weird stuff going on here. Really like this panel, though, of Hafate. Now, this is odd. We just cut away to Marvin. He's on the beach. We see a family picnicking in the background and this dog. Apparently, it's theirs. I gotta say, I love the composition of this panel. It looks like some beautiful painting or something. The composition. So now we go back to Putt and his friends. It looks like the hypnotherapy's been working. But Killer Fly is still weird, this kid. Like, he only watches the same one TV show every day. And when Putt tries to change the channel, he jumps on him like a rabid dog, snarling. So now we're back to the techno club. All the customers are shit to her. They're these bougie assholes. Maria just has to put up with it. Now back to the flashbacks. Marvin, we realize what that beat scene was all about. Marvin took that dog, and so he could give it as a gift to it's Margarita is what they call her nickname when she's little. But it's Maria. And when he opens the door, she's having sex with that weird clown puppet freak. I like how they're involving a pie in their sexual play and a horn. And then I like this to close out the scene. We see the beach again. Another beautifully composed panel. And everyone's looking for the dog and calling for him. And the little boy's crying because his dog is missing. Back to the techno club. These guys just keep harping. The customers are shit. They're total assholes. So she gets fed up. She throws the drinks at the customers and walks off the job. Kind of an interesting last silent page here. And this is going to be, we're going to find out what this means next issue. It almost looks like ballerinas, ghostly ballerinas, are formed from her cigarette smoke. Interesting little image there. So now we have another backup strip, I assume, by the two Chris's. Cheetah and Monkey Man. And as you can see, very different style. Very cutesy-wootsy, cartoony. Just about these two characters, it's not that very good. At least, I'm sure someone might like it. It's just all this cute little dialogue between the two. It's very kind of... whatever. I don't know. I don't have much to say about this, sorry. I don't mind his cartooning, though. It's kind of cute, kind of fun. I've seen worse, that's for sure. But I don't give a shit about that compared to the story. I gotta say, I always love stories that take place in a circus milieu. You know, like Santa Sangre. Well, there's actually so many. There's so many good circus stories. And I think this fits in well with a lot of them. Oh, Wings of Desire. There's so many good movies and comics that take place in that world. So this is the last issue. And we see the woman's bathroom. And it turns out this whole time that Putt is a little pervert. And he's creeping over the top of the stall to look at this woman. This actually is the girlfriend of that tough, the bully. And we realize he's just unrepentant too. He's all laughing. He's like, hey, hey, hey. Once again, like that panel. I just like the way he draws her. Totally reminds me of another English cartoonist, but I can't think of it right now. One of the guys in Deadline, I think. So So now the next day, he's mopping up the men's room, and that bully comes back in. And basically, Putt tries to mouth off to him. He says, oh yeah, your girlfriend's been sniffing around me, describing her midget fantasies with me. So it pisses him off so much. But Putt brought along Killer Fly. And he said, oh yeah? Because he knows that Killer Fly, turns into the monster when he sees someone being threatened or whatever. So the bully runs into the stall where Killer Fly's sitting. And you hear all the sound of someone getting the shit kicked out of him. And of course, Putt hasn't realized how much the therapy's worked. Because he's like, oh, this poor guy, take it easy on him, Killer Fly. Don't hurt him too bad. And when he opens the door, he never turned into Killer Fly, and the bully beat the shit out of him. And of course, then he's going to put a hurting on Putt too, or Putt. So now we have the flashback, but from Maria's point of view. Her father was the fabulous Martini, the escape artist, and their act was Maria would ride the elephant, and the elephant would step on the crate. If Martini didn't escape from the crate in time, the trunk, he'd be crushed by the elephant. So that was the whole the act. And this is really nice writing. It's almost like a diary entry, like Maria just writing about her, remembering her childhood. Just describing how much she loved her father. Interesting character, this Martini fellow. But she really had a passion for like real dance. And she bugged her father for weeks, and finally she said, I want you to take me to the ballet. And her father didn't like leaving the circus, but he did because he loved his daughter. But it like almost traumatized her, like seeing how amazing they were and how almost superhuman they seemed to her. She knew she could never attain that, and it made her feel bad. But it did make her be like, okay, well, at least in the circus, I'm going to be the best I can. And she threw herself into her work. And then we see her impression of Marvin. And even at a young age, Marvin is this total surly, vain, and arrogant kid. Of course, Maria totally loves him. Because, those guys, even though they're obnoxious, they usually seem to have some girlfriend at any point in their lives. There's always those kind of women who like that kind of turd. So they fall in love, get together. It's like one of their first dates. And then one day, the father fucks up, doesn't get out of the trunk in time. Clytemnestra the elephant crushes him to death. Now we come back to the present. Putt's friend comes home from work. He sees a Killer Fly in a total, like, almost body cast. He says, oh my God, what happened? And I like this, how Putt is in the toilet seat. The guy shoved him in the toilet seat so he can't even get out. So his friend helps him get out. And I guess the good news is that Killer Fly really can't turn into a fly anymore. But in this instance, it might have been good if he could have. So now he's realized he's got to get back to the circus. And he's just like, yeah, this outside world is terrible. It's not working out for me. So he kind of dresses up. It's so obvious it's him, but kind of an interesting character design, like the Mad Hatter from Batman. But he basically says, oh, I've got all these great acts. And they're pretty ludicrous. He says, I swallow cats. But first I grill it. And then the orphan kittens perform a beautiful ballet. It's almost like a surreal monologue or diatribe. He's just saying all these random stupid things like, oh yeah, and then I can do this. So the ringmaster says, actually, I have a new idea for an act. And, it would basically kind of be a veiled S&M type thing where we get some ugly deviant to enact his perverse desires. But he's the captive of a cruel, unfeeling modern woman. So it kind of reminds us of two people. So he goes to the stands. It's the first time he's been back to the circus. And he looks over and he sees Maria in the crowd. So he's totally just like, what was Maria doing here? He's totally curious. So he gets a taxi. And there's some good dialogue here. This taxi driver is kind of annoying. And Putt, for the ones, like, shows he's not just a, spineless wuss. He's actually, like, gets in some good lines on this guy, making fun of him. So he goes to the strip club. And he can't believe it. Maria's on stage. After Maria left her the techno club, she got a job at this burlesque house. So he goes backstage to talk to Maria. He asks her why she went to the circus. She says, I don't know, just to see if I still felt anything. So Marvin is gone now, even though the circus is back in town. I guess after Maria left, Marvin just like fell into the bottle. And they don't know where he is. He's just a drunk. Excuse me, guys. I need some water. And obviously Maria is pretty cold to him. She's cordial and polite. But she's just like, this guy's kind of fucked up my life. So this is insane. I didn't see this coming. He finds out where Maria lives. He follows her home. And he's pestering her. He's basically saying, we have to go back to the circus. And he says that Yanavaskovich, the ringmaster, he's got an idea for an act, talking about that weird S&M act, which I guess would be perfect for that. And she basically says, nah, I'm not gonna. You should leave. And so while she's having a drink of beer, he pulls his draw out and conks her in the head again. And he kidnaps her again. I guess there's lots of trunks. Everyone has a trunk. Throws her in this trunk. The taxi guy, the annoying taxi cab driver, gives him a ride back to the circus. And now we see the next night. Look how just cartoony he draws the ringmaster. I love it. His body language. So we see some of these other new acts. These are just, I think, just thrown in for yuck's sake, for comedy. Goulash, the trapeze worm. This is a pretty good gag, actually. So he fails. He fails to grab his partner's arms. I don't know how he would as a worm. And then he falls, and then they say, oh, thank God there's a net. Someone in the crowd says, of course he's a worm, so he falls right through the net and squelches. Well, sorry about that's the wrong word. He hits the ground and dies. Now we see the new act that involves Putt. Putt the sick pygmy. So he's put on the depraved dartboard, whatever it's called. And his spiel is all about like, there's only one being cruel and feeling and morally unimpeachable enough to administer the correction he deserves for his foul desires. None other than Madam Justice. It's Maria, of course. Kind of nice dramatic page here where she's just in shadow. So she's basically like a dominatrix now. Now we flashback. So Maria locked herself in her dad's trunk after he was killed. And we see Marvin there, just pretty unsympathetic, just saying, okay, you've mourned enough, Maria. I know it was terrible, but you're not a little girl. Face the world. Come and be my wife. Now we're back to the present. So she's blindfolded. And she has these things that aren't knives. They're like weird, almost a mace without the club part. And she's throwing them at Putt. Oh, and I love this. I should read this narration because we see Maria's definitely changed. As the midget rotates, his imperious mistress is blindfolded, for she really cannot stand his odious appearance. And when she tosses the spike balls of purity, she really cannot care less where they gouge him. as long as they do gouge him. So it's like this S&M act, but it's also just real. Like, Maria's like, well, I hate this guy, so I'll get a little money. They'll pay me to basically abuse him every night, so I could live with that. Oh, man. And then this is a very interesting coda here. Or I should just say last page, because there is a coda coming up. Pretty sure, and we see Marvin, and he looks terrible. He looks like he's lost 50 pounds, and he's in a bar somewhere. But he's sculpting something. I think it's Maria. And he just mumbles something. So very interesting ending. But then we have this thing. It says zip, an interlude at the end. So we see Putt here, and that bully guy with it and his dog are chasing him. But Putt gives him a lollipop, the lollipop he was eating, and I guess it placates the dog. And so now back at the burlesque club, the human fly is now dressed in drag. Actually looks pretty cute. And, you know, singing this song. I'm pretty sure this is a Chris Butler lyric. Maybe this is a real song, but it's kind of good lyrics. And it's weird because Putt's friend, who I still haven't gotten his name, sorry, he's thrilled by it. He's like, wow. Even though it's, you know, his friend, his roommate. I was dipping into Einstein last night, and when I'm stripping, all his theories seem right. Looks like the art's a lot looser in this. And Putt confronts his friend. He says, "What have you done to him?" And his friend says, "Just a spot of fun, old friend. Isn't he a delicious mover?" And then when he's about to pull off his loincloth or whatever, his bottom, we see the top of his pubes, and Putt runs in front to block it. Such an odd little coda to the story. And then finally Putt realized, so as if Putt couldn't get any lower, he's just like, the story just leaves him at the depths of despair. He says, "Fly, fly, what have I done? I thought in the city we would be invisible and free. But here we're invisible, we're nothing. At least in the circus we were wanted because we were freaks. Better a prison with some dignity." And then we see that bully, and the dog is won't eat dinner because I guess the lollipop made him sick. And then I think I don't really get this last panel. The guy from the burlesque house who's putting the reel-to-reel back together. I don't know. But I still like that coda. Very interesting. Like, how the hell did that happen? Where Killer Fly, who just wouldn't even talk, and now seems to be very happy as an outgoing burlesque stripper. So there you go, guys. Killer Fly number 1 through 3. I have a feeling that nobody else knows about these. I even forgot about them, and I own them. But who knows? Maybe this got some acclaim when it came out. I don't remember reading about it anywhere. But I really like the story. I like the art. I would definitely, if you could find it cheap, I wouldn't. I would do it. I'd buy it. I'd pull the trigger. So hope you guys like looking at this comic as much as I liked rereading it again. Pleasant surprise. And I hope to see you next time here at the Herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies.